Imagine living in a place where the cost of living is so high that you can barely afford to pay your rent, groceries, utilities, and transportation. A place where the average house price is over $1 million, the unemployment rate is over 10%, and the taxes are among the highest in the country. A place where you feel like you are working hard, but getting nowhere. This is the reality for many people living in Ontario, Canada's most populous and economically powerful province. But what if there was another option? A place where the cost of living is much lower, the economy is booming, and the opportunities are abundant. A place where you can buy a house for less than half the price, find a well-paying job in a variety of sectors, and enjoy a high quality of life. A place where you can achieve your dreams and goals without breaking the bank. This is the reality for many people living in Alberta, Canada's fourth most populous and second richest province. In this video, we will explore how Alberta has quietly become the new Ontario, attracting thousands of migrants from across the country and around the world. We will look at the factors that have made Alberta such an attractive destination, such as its abundant natural resources, its diversified economy, its low taxes, its friendly business environment, and its vibrant culture. By the end of this video, you will have a better understanding of why Alberta is the place to be in 2023. This is the silent rise of Alberta as the new Ontario. International business and politics are changing rapidly to keep up with global market trends. During an era of digital transformation, one country that is often overlooked within these global trends is Canada. Why has Canada been ignored when discussing these global trends? The country is already an attractive destination for international migration, and, along with the country's rapid growth in the high-tech sector, any discussion about the global economy should always include Canada. Canada is a G7 country that will play a key role in the global economy thanks to the country's advantages to attract top talent and investments for Industry 4.0. aka the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Industry 4.0 is a global trend that conceptualizes how changes to the global economy are causing more countries to invest in higher education, training, and research and development initiatives, where there is a strong focus from business and government interests to develop a country's high-tech sector. Through competitive STEM programs at top-tier universities or attractive immigration policies, countries like Canada seek to take a leading role in Industry 4.0 by encouraging more people and investors to the country. In the past, Canada was known as a leading North American producer of natural resources, notably potash, uranium, and oil and gas resources. This brings us to the discussion of Alberta Province. Canada's Alberta Province accounts for much of the country's lucrative oil sands production, which gives Canada the third largest oil reserves in the world. But, at present, the Canadian government is making efforts to develop Alberta Province into a high-tech powerhouse, including efforts to turn Calgary into a hub for tech and innovation, one which can fiercely compete with other developed and emerging economies for top global talent and investments. Because of these global trends, however, Canadians find themselves in a dilemma over the rising costs of living throughout the country's prosperous cities, such as in Toronto and Vancouver. For example, cities in Ontario Province are not keeping up with the housing supply and demand, which is leading to unaffordable housing and rental prices for residents. Ontarians have no choice but to migrate to more affordable areas of Canada, where they can still find jobs in the tech sector or work remotely. This is where we begin understanding why the Canadian government is attaching so much importance to Alberta Province's economic growth. There is a musical chairs effect happening throughout Canada these days. Canadians are leaving the country's prosperous cities to settle down in areas that are less expensive, only to have this trend backfire on them, as the housing and rental market goes up with this influx of new people and skilled workers. The musical chairs effect explains that once the cost of living goes up for people in one area, people in that area then decide to move on to the next town or city to pursue a more affordable living standard. This is the current situation for many Ontarians, who are struggling to find more affordable housing. While federal government interest rate hikes have caused the rental market to be just as expensive for many people throughout 2023. Alberta province has become the most attractive destination for interprovincial migrants since the Canadian government made it a top priority for economic growth. Through the Alberta is Calling advertising campaign, launched in 2022, Ottawa has attached importance to the prospects for Alberta province's interprovincial migration. They have strongly encouraged people living in provinces of Ontario and British Columbia to make the move to Alberta for a more affordable standard of living and attractive job opportunities. But the musical chairs effect is already having an impact on Alberta too. For instance, Calgary had the fastest increasing rental market at the beginning of 2023, averaging a rate of increase of 28.1% annually, with a 3.8% rise over the first 3 months of the year. Many people were paying an average rental price of $1,852 during this period of rental rate increases. Statistics also confirm that there's a major demographic shift taking place between Ontario and Alberta. Of the 50,000 migrants who left Ontario in 2022, approximately 20,000 of them settled down in Alberta. There was already a significant increase of interprovincial migrants from 2021 to 2022. Statistics Canada reported that while 16,530 people left Alberta province in 2021, the province received 22,921 more people for the same year. This is in stark contrast to 2020, when it was reported that 4,296 Ontarians relocated to Alberta at the height of the global COVID-19 pandemic. With this substantial increase of interprovincial migrants over the past 3 years, it is evident that the Alberta is Calling campaign is facilitating a demographic shift from Ontario to Alberta. But will the negative effects of this campaign outweigh the benefits for Canadians in the future? Alberta's interprovincial population growth is not only about the affordable housing and rental market crisis for Canadians. It is also related to how the Canadian government is conducting its Industry 4.0 strategy. From 2012 to 2022, there was a 33% growth rate of privately held technology companies that established businesses in Alberta province, to the tune of 3,000 plus companies setting up their operations to capture market share for the emerging high-tech sector there. For example, global IT leader Infosys launched one of the company's newest digital centers in Calgary in September 2022, playing a pivotal role in the 58% of high-tech companies that moved their operations to Calgary since 2022. The migration patterns of high-tech workers in Canada are emblematic of this demographic shift from Ontario to Alberta. University of Calgary economics professor Trevor Toome testified to this fact, pointing out that this influx of interprovincial migrants is mostly made up of young Canadians between the ages of 20 to 40. Since the Canadian government wants to attract more people to Alberta, then it is likely that they are hoping for a new stream of investments to go along with this surge in high-tech companies and workers. However, this demographic shift will have some negative effects from Alberta's political institutions. The Canadian government's Industry 4.0 strategy neglects to take into consideration the history and politics of Alberta for 3 main reasons. Firstly, Albertans have had a history of wanting to separate themselves from the rest of Canada under the pretext of representation, equalization, and oil. Secondly, due to it being the home of Canada's massive crude oil reserves, Alberta province contributes 17% to the country's GDP. And thirdly, since the province's economy is over-reliant on the volatility of oil markets, the fluctuation of oil prices caused 100,000 job losses in the province's oil and gas sector from 2014 to 2016. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau does not have strong political support from people in Alberta. According to a poll taken at the beginning of 2019, 83% of Albertans did not want Trudeau's Liberal Party to be re-elected to the House of Commons in 2021. But this poll data comes from 2019, a world apart from the one Canadians are living in today. With this demographic shift from Ontario to Alberta and the influx of interprovincial and international migrants for the province's emerging high-tech sector, this trend would tip the balance in favour of Trudeau's Liberal Party in Alberta. And this is where we step into Canada's recent immigration policies. How will international migrants in Alberta play a role in Canada's Industry 4.0 strategy? The Alberta Advantage Immigration Program, AAIP, is the Alberta government's latest policy program to attract prospective international migrants to the country's high-tech sector. This economic immigration program nominates people for permanent residence in Alberta, giving international migrants an opportunity to seek work or study prospects available to them through the government program. The AAIP program is beneficial to Canadians for at least 3 reasons. It is one of the key drivers of Canada's Industry 4.0 strategy. It provides new funding and stability for the near and long-term economic growth of Alberta province, and it serves as one of the main competitive advantages over other countries in the competition for top talent and investments. Thus, Alberta province is becoming one of the symbols of digital transformation in Canada. As the government responds to this global economic trend, it will be interesting to see how Alberta's politics change along with the demographic shift and international migrant policies. However, geopolitical tensions could send this sentiment into a dangerous flurry of headwinds for Canada's future. A recent flare-up between the Liberal Party and the Indian government caused a major backlash from India. On 21st of September 2023, India announced that it would suspend all future visa services for Canadians due to Prime Minister Trudeau's allegations about India's involvement in the killing of a Sikh leader residing in Canada. This is a significant event for Canada-India relations, as it has brought 2 countries with a historically friendly relationship to a new breaking point of tensions. This event is even more significant to Canada's Industry 4.0 strategy and international immigration policies. For instance, legal Indian immigrants represented more than 118,000 permanent residents to Canada in 2022, along with more than 320,000 Indian students attending Canadian universities. Another problem for Canada's Industry 4.0 strategy is the key role that Alberta's crude oil production plays in the country's GDP growth. There is still a major demand for oil and gas supplies, of which Alberta could be a focal point of the future global supply. Global oil and gas industry executives met at the 24th World Petroleum Congress in Calgary from the 17th to the 21st of September to discuss the future demand of oil and gas supplies in the energy transition. According to Arjun Murthy of energy consultancy Veriten, as energy consumption keeps rising, the world will need Canadian LNG and crude from the oil sands, particularly as shale supply in the United States shows some signs of slowing. There is likely going to be fierce competition over the direction of Alberta's future economic policies. This will be a divisive issue for the Albertans and interprovincial migrants in Calgary. On the one hand, the Canadian government will continue to make policies that attract more people to Alberta for the emerging high-tech sector. Meanwhile, the immigration policies could also attract more workers into the province's oil and gas sector to address the labour shortages in the industry after massive layoffs in the past years. On the other hand, Alberta's interprovincial boom could cause the demographic shift to change again, giving full play to the musical chairs effect, while leaving the future of Alberta's economic growth in the hands of the United Conservative Party, UCP. The UCP Premier, Danielle Smith, has been adamant on returning Alberta province to its historical roots, such as abandoning the federal government's Canada Pension Plan for Alberta's own pension plan. This proposed split from the federal pension system would give the UCP more control over the future direction of Alberta's economic policies. The outcomes of this pension plan in Alberta would provide more headwinds to Canada's Industry 4.0 strategy, giving Ottawa less control over a province that is supposed to be one of the country's promising tech and innovation hubs in the future.